Hey guys, we are back with another chapter for class 6 bio, and this time the name of the chapter is Human Body and Respiratory System. Okay, so in the previous chapter we talked about the digestive system, and in this chapter we're going to talk about the respiratory system. Okay, and we know that in digestive system is basically a group of organs that come together to make the process of digestion happen. Okay. Similarly, out here, respiratory system is a group of organs that come together and make the process of respiration happen. So, before we get into the chapter, there's one thing that we need to know. We need to know the difference between breathing and respiration. So, here are the differences between breathing and respiration, and we'll go into it one by one. In breathing, no energy is obtained by the body, but in respiration, energy is obtained by the body from the food. In breathing, it is a mere exchange of gases between the atmosphere and the body. But in respiration takes place within the cells of the body. Breathing, it is a physical process involving breathing in and breathing out. In respiration, a lot of biochemical processes happen when respiration is carried out in the cell. So what it really means is, breathing is just a physical activity where you breathe in the air and you breathe out. That's it. Nothing is involved. Okay? It is the external process which you see outside. It is also known as the external respiration. Okay? External as it you can see it outside. What is happening in this process, you can see it. Okay? So the air from the atmosphere, we just breathe it in and then we breathe it out. That's it. But in respiration, what happens is, the air goes in, it's broken down, okay? Then there is a lot of, there is a very significant biochemical process that happens inside the body, which is very important for us to survive, to live. Okay? And this process gives us energy. So what we're going to do is, we're going to go and look at it, what it says. Based on the differences, we got to know that respiration involves food, oxygen, and it produces energy, takes place in the cells. Okay? So, respiration involves food, right? And it involves oxygen. We got to know from the differences. It produces energy, which breathing doesn't. And it takes place in the cell, whereas the breathing is just an activity for the whole body. It's just air going out, air coming in, air going out. Okay? And based on all this, we get the definition for respiration. Respiration is a biochemical process that takes place within the cells of the body and helps in the production of energy by breaking down. Okay? It helps in the production of energy. So we discussed respiration, we discussed breathing. Now breathing, like I said, is also known as the external respiration. Okay? It helps in gaseous exchange. It brings in the air into our body. Okay? The cellular or internal respiration is what happens inside the body, where in the presence of oxygen, the oxygen that we have taken in the external respiration process, where we breathe in the oxygen, it goes inside, and in its presence, in the presence of oxygen, the glucose is broken down for energy. It results in the release of water, carbon dioxide and energy in the form of ATP. And we have already discussed what ATP is in the previous chapter. So now we'll look at the different organs of the respiratory system and the function. The first organ, like buccal cavity, we have the nose, like a mouth for digestive system. For respiratory system, we have nose. So let's look at nose. Nose, it has two openings called the nostrils through which air enters the body. And I don't think I need to explain that. The hair and mucus in the nostrils filter the air by trapping the dust and germs. Okay, we have got tiny hairs, hair follicles inside a nose, inside a nostril, which acts as a filtration system for dust and germs. Nasal cavity and pharynx help moisten and regulate the temperature of air. So there is a part in our body called pharynx and the nasal cavity which moistens the air so that it becomes heavier. Okay. Next is trachea. It is a tube-like structure that extends from larynx to the bronchi. Okay. Larynx is located above the trachea and has vocal cords which helps us in speech. So larynx is there which helps us in speech. Okay. And trachea starts right below the larynx and it goes up to the bronchi. Next is the bronchi. It connects lungs to the trachea. Okay, so it connects trachea and the lungs. It branches into bronchioles which end with alveoli. Okay, it branches into bronchioles which end with alveoli, and we'll talk about that. Lungs, the main protagonist of the respiratory system. In the digestive system, we had two main characters. Okay, two main protagonists. One was the stomach and the other one was the small intestine. Out here we have lungs. It is one of the most important protagonists of respiratory system. There are two lungs present in the chest cavity. I think you have seen the diagrams. They are protected by two outer membranes called pleura, which makes the expansion and contraction of the lungs smoother during the breathing process. Okay, so lungs is divided. There are two lungs in the body. Okay, it's covered by two outer membranes called pleura, which helps making the process of expansion and contraction of lungs smoother. Next is alveoli. These are little air sacs that help in gaseous exchange in the lung. Okay, so these are the tiny sacs which do the real work out there. Okay, really important work behind the scenes. What it does is it helps the cells in the body take in oxygen. It moves the oxygen to the red blood cells, which transports the food and the oxygen to the rest part of the body. So now we move on to the diagram. Here I am going to revise all the organs that we have discussed, which make up your respiratory system. Okay. So the first part, the first organ was your nose, right? Here is your nasal cavity. Your larynx is here. From here, the trachea starts. Okay. Your bronchi is somewhere around here. These are your two lungs, and you see this tiny stuff out here. These are your alveoli. Okay, so the process starts from your nose, the air goes in, it goes down the nasal cavity, okay, down your pharynx, down your bronchi, to your lungs, to your alveoli, and from your alveoli it is broken down, and the red blood cells carry your oxygen along with the food to the other parts of the body. Now we move on to the final part of the chapter, that is diseases that affect your respiratory system. Most of this happens due to the pathogens that's present in the air and the air pollutants that you can find in the air. Okay, so what it does is it affects different part of a body, like for example, different part of the respiratory system. If it affects a sinuses, it's called sinusitis. If it affects a larynx, it's called laryngitis. If it affects a pharynx, it's called pharyngitis. If it affects a bronchi, it's called bronchitis. Okay, so different organs, when it's affected by these pollutants and pathogens, it affects the body. Okay, so what are respiratory diseases? Respiratory diseases are conditions that affect the respiratory organs. We've discussed that. What are the causes? The causes are air pollution. Okay, and the major air pollutants are carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and suspended particulate matter, which is also called SPM. These are your smoke particles and other things that are there in the air, which are not carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide. Okay. The other things are smoke and pathogens. Pathogens are all your viruses and germs and bacteria that are present in the air. Okay. Here are some common respiratory diseases. Okay, you can go into the details about these diseases in your book. The symptoms, the treatments, everything is there in your book. You can just go through it. But out here, I'm just going to touch these diseases. The first one is bronchitis. It affects the bronchi. Okay, it's an infection in the bronchial tube. Pneumonia causes inflammation of lungs where alveoli are filled with fluids. Okay, so our lungs get inflamed and the alveoli are filled with fluids, due to which the oxygen does not go to the other part of the body. Okay, the oxygenation process of the body becomes slow. Asthma is a disease in which there is an inflammation of airways for long period of time. Okay, and for this, I don't think I need to explain. Most of you have seen people around us having this problem. And the last one is tuberculosis or TB, which was initially known as Scrofula. Do you know that? It was known as Scrofula in 1986. It mostly affects the lungs. Okay, TB is the only disease in this group which can affect other part of the body too. There have been instances that it has affected brains, your heart, and other part of your body too. TB does not mean it just affects your lungs. You can read about all of these in your book. The symptoms and treatments and everything is there. And that's all for the video, and thank you for watching.